Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 11 of the LineTime Sports UFC show. As always, it's me, LineTime Rick, at LineTime Rick on X, joined by my good friend, The Hammer, at LineTime Hammer on X. And always, don't forget to follow LineTime Sports at LineTime Sports on X. We hope you guys had a good and safe Thanksgiving. Us at the LineTime family, we did. And unfortunately, we missed last week, but there was no fight, so it's all right. We're back at it. We'll be going over and recapping our picks from 2 weeks ago, back in the Brendan Allen and Paul Craig card. But for now, we're just going to get straight into the main event this week, straight into the main card this week. And this is a pretty big fight card. It's the fight night, but it's in Austin, Texas at the brand new Moody Center, opened in 2022. Uh, I got to be honest, for a fight night, this goes up there with some of the recent pay-per-views that Dana's been putting out there. The only thing it's missing is a title fight, but other than that, the level of fights, the level of competition, it's right up there. I mean, we have 10 ranked fighters on this card. Last fight night there was 4. From top to bottom, it's just packed with good fights. So we're gonna go straight into this main event. We're getting into a lightweight bout between number 4 ranked Beneil Dariush and the number 8 ranked Sarukian. Sarukian's coming in at -180. Beneil Dariush at a +150. Dariush 22-5-1 in his career. He's coming off that loss against Charles Oliveira, UFC 289. That ended an 8-fight win streak for Dariush, and some of the wins in there included Matus Gamrot, Tony Ferguson, Thiago Moises, Diego Ferreira. A lot of those were by decision. He had a couple knockouts scattered in there with Scott Holtzman, Drakkar Kloss. We're going to talk more about the Drakkar Kloss because he's also on this card. And for Sukarian, he's 20-3 career, 7-2 in the UFC. He's coming off win over Joaquim Silva on a UFC fight night. His last loss was against Matus Gamrot. This is a really good fight, man. I think that there's some value here with Beneil Dariush, to be completely honest. Obviously, Arman Tsarukyan, he should be the favorite, but I kind of really like Beneil Dariush in this matchup. I think since it's kind of a recency bias kind of thing, his last fight against Charles Oliveira, Charles kind of smoked him. He kind of looked a lot better. But I mean, Beneil Dariush is just a straight up killer. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. Like I said, he was on an 8-fight win streak before that loss against Oliveira. Uh, and to be honest, Sarukian, he's really good too, but he's looked human in there a couple of times. I don't know if necessarily I would advise throwing a big bet on Beneil Dariush, but I don't think that if I was to make any kind of safe parlay, add a couple legs to it, I don't think I'd add Sarukian to it.
Nah, me either. Yeah, this is an interesting matchup because Dariush has a. I wouldn't say like he has the advantage on the ground. I was gonna say slight, but I think he has a pretty decent advantage on the ground here, and that's like not taking anything away from Armand because he's great on the ground too. He has solid wrestling, he has submissions. Like he's a very good ground fighter, but that's Dariush's bread and butter, and that's where he just kind of dominates his opponents. And then I'd say Armon has a decent advantage on the feet, and like just like I said with that, it's not taking anything away from Dariush and like Dar's. But the thing about the feet, like I think Armon has the advantage, but I think Dariush still has a slight power advantage, even though I think Armon's boxing is a little bit more crisper. I think he's a little faster to the target. So yeah, I think it's a I wouldn't even call it a striker versus grappler matchup because both of these guys are just really well rounded, in my opinion. I think this is just a really good matchup in general. I was kind of surprised to see Armand be that big of a favorite. Like I really was thinking like pick him here, to be honest, or even maybe Benil being a slight favorite. But I get it, kind of like Benil just came off that knockout loss to Charles. Was it a knockout or was this? Did he get subbed or was it? Because I know he got knocked down, but yeah, I mean he just came off that loss to Charles, and then Armand got like a second round or third round TKO knockout finish. So it's interesting. And then before that, like his loss before that was to Gamrot, but I mean, I don't think anyone had Gamrot winning that fight. Like, I wouldn't call it like a highway robbery, but I think the majority of MMA fans and MMA reporters and everything scored that for Armand to win that fight. So it's interesting. I can see why he's the favorite here, kind of because he does have good defensive wrestling. I don't know if Dariush will be able to control him on the ground like he's done to other people in the past, but yeah, I mean it's gonna be a great fight. I don't think there's a side here for me in this fight at all, but if I had to pick it, I'd take Dariush for the value, just him being plus 155 or whatever he is.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was at. And the over and under rounds, it's set at 3.5. To go over, it's at minus 140. To go under, plus 110. I
I
mean,
don't
I
love that.
obviously,
I was
I
just gonna
don't.
say. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I don't love anything there either. I like betting over and under rounds a lot of times, but like I could see it going either way, man. Like I could see a kind of a quick finish, or I could see this going 5 rounds. Like I don't think there's value there either. What were you saying about that?
Yeah, if anything, I was looking earlier to try and find my favorite pick for this card, and I was looking at the distance in this fight. I kind of
Hmm.
like the distance, and I think that was closer to plus 160. And that's the only reason I really like that a lot is because of the
Value.
value. I
Yeah.
think I could definitely see because, like I said, I'm kind of I don't know if I want to like full on commit to Beneil Dariush being my pick in this fight, but I think if Dariush wins, it's going to be by decision. And I think same thing.
Okay.
I mean, Sarukian might be able to knock him out, but like we've seen Beneil get into these wars where he's been back and forth. He's gotten hit and been able to take it to the ground and kind of recover. So I kind of like it to go to the distance. I don't like I said, it's not going to be my favorite pick of this card. I did like it.
Yeah. I mean, plus
There's a little bit of
160,
value.
plus 160 is good value, and yeah, like Dariush has a crazy good chin. Like, yeah, he got knocked out by Oliveira his last fight, but Oliveira hits like a truck. Like he's done that to him. Like Gaethje even said he's like I've never been hit by anyone as hard as Oliveira has. So yeah, I mean I kind of like that plus 160 to go the distance. If I were gonna bet something, I'd either go that way or I'd probably go Darius for the value, just straight value plays. I think this is just one you watch and enjoy the fight though. To be honest, no real edge either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a treat for the fans. I don't necessarily. I'm not going to advise. Like I said, I wouldn't throw Sarukian in anything that's quote unquote safe.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
safe parlay piece.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly, man. I can't advise to do that because I don't know if
Yeah,
he's gonna win. We're gonna get into this co-main, another lightweight fight. This is number 12 ranked Jalen Turner versus number 13 ranked Bobby Green. Jalen
another
Turner's
banger,
coming, another absolute banger.
banger.
Jalen Turner's coming in at minus 155, Bobby Green at a plus 130. This was originally supposed to be Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green, and Dan Hooker had to pull out with an
Yeah,
injury to the arm that Jalen Turner nonetheless hurt. I think he broke it in that fight along with his jaw,
yeah.
and Dan Hooker is just an absolute warrior, finished and won that fight. So I guess
Insane.
that we'll go into it that way. Jalen Turner, 13-7, 6-4 in the UFC. He's still young. I think he's 28. He's a prospect. That the 13-7 record is kind of misleading because he is so good. I mean, he's a contender series graduate, and like I said, he's coming off of that split decision loss to Dan Hooker. I don't necessarily think it should have been a split decision. I think Dan Hooker definitely won that fight.
Yeah,
But the other split decision he had was against Matus Gamrot at UFC 285. He's never won a decision in his career, which is kind of interesting, but he's not really a decision kind of fighter. His last win was
yeah,
against Brad Riddell at UFC 276. That was a guillotine finish. And then we got Bobby Green, who's getting into a little bit of a career resurgence. He's 31-14 in his career, 12-9-1 in the UFC. His last win, I mean, super recently, it was against Grant Dawson, that knockout in October. I mean, that was what, all of 20 seconds.
oh,
Uh,
yeah, you missed it. You went to take a piss or something, and
yeah,
you came back,
I
so what
went to go take a
happened?
piss, came downstairs, and I heard people cheering. Fight was
Yeah,
over in about 20 seconds because, Grant Dawson.
mhm,
But anyways, before that, he had that win against Tony Ferguson at UFC 291. But again, Tony Ferguson's kind of on the end of his career. So, like, when I say a career resurgence, it's I kind of want to put that lightly. Again, Jalen Turner is taking this fight on what 2 weeks notice, and he's still a minus 155 favorite, and I think that's for good reason. I think it's kind of a gift that you're getting him a minus 155. I think I would rather put him in a quote unquote safe parlay than I would Sarukian. I just I Bobby Green, he loves to do that, cocky little hands down at the hips, kind of invites you to get into a striking match with him. And if he does this with all 6'3" of Jalen Turner, he's probably gonna get knocked out and probably gonna
yep,
get knocked out pretty bad. Jalen Turner is just such a good striker. He's such a fun fighter to watch too. And again, I'm pretty sure I was right in his eulogy for the Grant Dawson fight, Bobby Green.
mhm.
And again, 20-second knockout for Bobby Green. And he does have the power to do that. He can do that in pretty much any fight. I just don't see that happening here against Jalen Turner.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. I completely agree. Yeah, I think Jalen Turner is gonna win this fight pretty handily, but, like, at minus 250, there's really no bet for me there, but, yeah, you're talking about, Jalen Turner, like, how his record's pretty deceiving. Yeah, like, I agree. I think most of his losses came early in his career in like Bellator and other promotions, and like he's a damn good fighter, man. And like his one big weakness is his wrestling, but it's not even like that much of a weakness. Like he has decent defensive wrestling. The one thing I'll say is when he gets taken down, sometimes he kind of accepts position, like, and that gets him in trouble. I think that's why I mean, that's why he lost the Gamrot fight. Even though I still think he like might have won that fight. Like that literally could have went either way. That was such a close fight when he fought Gamrot. So yeah, I mean, and like you were saying, dude, Bobby Green's style is hands down trying to make you miss and then bait you into a firefight. But like Jalen Turner's reach is so long. He's so big for that division, bro. Like he walks around at like probably damn near 200 pounds. I'm guessing he walks around right around like 190, 195. And yeah, so it's interesting. Like, and Bobby Green's not small, but there's gonna be a size difference in there. Jalen Turner's faster, and and that's saying something because Bobby Green is quick, but like I just think he has all the advantages here. And like Bobby Green's not gonna wrestle. Like if anything, Jalen Turner might even have a wrestling advantage here, which like you can never really say in any of his fights. So yeah, I think he gets it done pretty easily, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know if he knocks him out though, just because like Bobby Green, it's weird. Like he's been knocked out before. Like he's gotten knocked out by Dustin Poirier. Like that's the game you play when you have that hands down style. But yeah, I kind of think I could see this going to decision. Oscar? Do you have odds for this to go to decision?
Jalen Turner to win by decision is plus 250. Bobby Green to win by decision is plus 400.
Yeah,
Um,
I like Jalen Turner to win by decision if you want
this
value, to
this
be
would
honest.
be Jalen Turner has 20 fights. This would be his first decision win. He has never won by decision before. He's
I
only
think
lost.
I truly and only plus 250 for him to a fighter that's never won by decision. I don't know. I just think stylistically, this could be a fight he wins by decision. Obviously, like I said, he could knock Bobby Green out down, like, or knock him out. He has that hands down style, but Bobby Green's hard to hit, man. And Jalen Turner's smart, where like he knows he's not going to overextend trying to get that knockout. In my opinion, like I think he's will be cool to kind of just jab him up, play that game, throw some leg kicks. So if I were to bet this fight, I'd do that plus 250 because I truly believe that has a very good chance to hitting. But this is another one I'm personally probably not going to bet.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the size. I think it's gonna be really it might be really hard for, Jalen Turner to make weight. I
Yeah,
mean, like you said, he walks around as a probably close to 190, 200,
yeah, he's
and,
big,
he's
dude.
taking this on late notice. He just had the holiday season, so, he's probably eating good. It might be real hard to make. It's gonna be an interesting, like, I think what they'll be weighing in on Friday, so it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know
He's
if
a
he's ever
professional,
missed. I was just gonna
yeah,
say I don't know if he's ever missed weight, man. But every time it looks like it's like the hardest weight cut ever, and like that's the
yeah.
thing. Like that's tough. It's tough, man, making that mark every time.
So if I was gonna give anything to Bobby Green, like maybe a little bit of an advantage, I think that that's probably it, and the fact that he's taking it on short notice. Because I mean, I know Bobby Green was training for a different fighter, so it's kind of short notice for him too. He's training for Dan Hooker, but they're so similar. I mean, we saw
Yeah,
that when they fought. It's the big, long 155ers, good
for sure.
strikers, got to be aware of everything. Um, so the over under is set at a round and a half. To go over minus 180, under is plus 140, and I got to be
It's a
honest.
round and a half. Is
Yeah,
it? And what?
the over
Sorry.
under. To
And
go over, it's minus 180 and under is
oh,
plus 140.
I thought you said over was plus 140. Yeah, I was like, dude,
No, 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 no.
I'm
So
fucking hammering that. But nah, I mean,
I
I'm
gotta
probably
be
just gonna.
honest, I think I'm on the other side of you. I think I like under a round and a half with plus 140. I think for the value, just because I said, I think that if Bobby Green wins, it's gonna be one of those he finds the chin and knocks him
Hmm.
out cold, and it's gonna be early. I mean, if Jalen Turner is allowed to take over the fight, then that's where I like it to go over. And like you said, I like Jalen Turner to win by points.
Yeah,
But I think that if Bobby Green has any chance, and Jalen Turner can just as easily end this fight
yeah,
in the first round.
for sure.
So I think there's a little bit of value there at plus 140. And just one more thing, Bobby Green is officially the second fighter to make his second appearance, his return on the LineTime Sports
Oh
UFC Talk
shit.
podcast. So, Bobby Green, congrats, buddy. Welcome back. Um, do we know was it it wasn't Ketlin Vieira. Who was the first fighter to return?
Loopy.
Godinez, yeah, and she's
Loopy.
won both appearances. Yeah, and
So
Bobby Green won his first. So
that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what I was getting at. So maybe I
You
just
know what to do.
take everything
Hammer
I
Bobby
said,
Green.
throw it away. Jalen Turner, you're done.
It's funny.
But so yeah, that had to be thrown out there. It's another great fight. I mean, as I said, this fight card, it would rival a lot of the pay-per-views, and Dana's giving it to us for free. Like I said, the only thing you don't have is a title fight, but I mean, these fights are great. And speaking of great fights, we're going to go into this next one. It's a bantamweight. We got number 8 Rob Font going up against the number 2 ranked Davison Figueiredo. This is Figgy's first fight at 135. He was formerly a 125, or he was he was ranked number 2 at 125. I'm sorry. Rob Font, favorite, -146. Figgy's coming in at +114. Font's 20-7 in his career, 1-3 in his last 4. His most recent one was that kind of a snooze fest against Corey Sandhagen. That was a late notice fight, and Sandhagen kind of just wrestled him for 5 rounds, kind of laid on top of him, coasted to a 50-45.
Sandhagen tore his bicep in that one, right? That's why he said he wrestled mostly. But yeah,
was it his bicep or was it his hand? I think it might have. Maybe it was his bicep.
I thought it was like either his pec, bicep, or like maybe something.
But he did get injured, and he kind of just laid on him for the majority of that fight. Which, I mean, the fact that he was able to do that, I think that, I don't know if that says more about Corey Sandhagen or more about Rob Font. But I mean, we all know how big of a problem Corey Sandhagen is. Prior to that, he beat Adrian Yanez by knockout. That was kind of a shocker for us, me specifically, because I was really high on Adrian Yanez, and to see him get knocked out in the way that he did, it was kind of crazy. Outside of that, he has a loss against Cheeto. He has a loss against Aldo. But that's the thing, is these are kind of good losses to have. I mean, these are all big names. And then we look at Davison Figueiredo. He's 23-1 in his career, and this is his first career fight at bantamweight, like I said. And he's coming off of the round 3 KO TKO. It was a doctor stoppage against Brandon Moreno, and that was the 4th fight consecutively against those two. That they had the quadrilogy, whatever you want to call it. I guarantee that's not the right word to say. But anyways, he had okay, I'm getting the thumbs up. Apparently it is a word. But apparently but like I said, they had those 4 fights. What was it? It was a draw, and then a loss for Figgy, and then a win for Figgy, and then a loss for Figgy.
Has it ever happened before where someone fights someone 4 times in a row? Wasn't that 4 times in a row?
It was 4 times in a row.
That's like insane, dude. Like, how the fuck does that even happen? But granted, like, it makes sense. Like, they were the 2 best in the flyweight division. Every fight was so damn close. Like, but it's crazy.
That's what I'm saying, is those are the only fights to make at that point in time. Like you said, they were so close. Every win was razor sharp. I mean, it could have gone either way every time. And I think that this is the right move for Davison Figueiredo to kind of keep his longevity active, to keep fighting, go up. There was nothing really left for him at 125. So, the weight cut was getting hard for him. So go up to 35, see what's there. And I think Rob Font's a really good test for him. I think it's all right to have Rob Font at a -145 favorite, 146 favorite. I don't see anything wrong with that. We're going to talk more about it. Specifically, I'm going to talk more about it later. I like Davison Figueiredo in this fight. I think, and we were talking earlier, it's going to be interesting to see if Figueiredo's power translates. It's going to be interesting to see the speed, how the speed goes up. He's a smaller guy, obviously, from 125, but he's always been so strong at 125. That's kind of been his thing, is like, he would throw around some guys, like, especially, like, I always think back to the Joseph Benavidez fight. That fight was disgusting. I mean, he was manhandling, and Joseph Benavidez is very good. I mean, he had a hell of a career, and he was throwing Benavidez around. He was manhandling him. So it's interesting. This is going to be a really interesting fight for me to watch personally. The over under set at 2.5 rounds. It's at -135 to go over. The under is -105. I kind of like the under again. I think Davison's going to win, and I think if Davison wins, he might just go out there and finish.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised to see the over under be what it is. I thought the it to go under would be plus money. I was a little shocked by that, but yeah, this was one we were kind of disagreeing on. I like Rob Font in this matchup. I actually liked Rob Font in the Adrian Yanez fight a lot, and I got talked out of it by my older brother, who's a pretty heavy bettor. He's a pretty good UFC bettor. He kind of talked me out of it, and not really like talked me out of it, but he just kind of thought Fawn's chin was a little gone from his last couple of performances. Like he was just in so many wars. He just thought that, like he had a good chance of getting knocked out. I just think like Rob Fawn's boxing is so fucking good, man, and his jab is insane. Like he probably has the best jab in the UFC, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Like he is so good with it. He's very good at keeping his distance. And that's the thing, man. The main reason I like it is I just don't know if Figgy's power is going to translate to 135 the way it was in 125. And that Giannis fight, he took some big shots, man, and he proved his chin isn't completely gone. So I like it here. Honestly, it's weird because like you saw Corey Sandhagen take Rob Vaughn down a bunch and whatever. But I mean, I think that's more attributed to the evolution in Corey Sandhagen's game, man. He just gets better and better each fight. Like I think he added some tools to his game and with his wrestling and stuff. So I think honestly that could be a strength here for Rob Vaughn. Like I think he could get Figgy to the ground just being longer than him, maybe being able to clinch him up, throw some knees, and then just being the bigger man, get him up against the fence, and just get takedowns that way. But I don't know if he'll necessarily have to. Like if he gets hit hard, like I think that could be his game plan. But I just think he's gonna try to fight this fight smart, man. I think he's gonna use that jab, and I think he's gonna keep Figgy at bay. But with that being said, like I don't necessarily like love them at minus 140. Like those aren't like that's not like crazy odds. Like I'm not saying you shouldn't be betting like minus 140s, minus 150s if you like a guy like, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a very close fight. I just think he's going to edge it out. I understand where you're coming from with Figueroa, that Figgy with the plus money though, and like he's still a damn good fighter. It's tough, man. This should be a really good fight. I'm surprised they put this one on the card too, with like how many great fights they already made. Like putting this one on it too. This fight night is honestly insane. But yeah, I
It's
think
so
it could
good.
go either way.
Yeah,
That's my opinion on it, to be honest. But I'd lean Rob Font here, but wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily recommend a bet on him. Is where I'm coming from there.
yeah, and it's not very often that me and the Hammer kind of see things opposites, and it's fine when we do. It's kind of better for you guys, so then you can see both sides of the coin here, kind of see what we're both thinking.
Hmm.
It's going to be an interesting fight, like you said. I'm really interested to see how Figueroa translates up into 135 because I mean, if he has this win, he's a couple wins away from, you would think, being considered for a title. I mean, I know that that division is pretty
Yep,
stacked, especially at the top, but a win over Rob Font, I mean, the
put you right there.
possibilities are endless. You can see, I mean, put him up against Cheeto because Cheeto's probably going to lose to Sean. Put him up against maybe a Sandhagen. You got Aljo who needs a fight. You got Marad. All these names are just ready for the
Yeah,
take. So,
he's probably 2 fights away, possibly 1 fight away if he wins this fight, depending on who they match him up with next after this. So yeah, I mean, Rob Fawn's been top 10 for a while now, so he's a great fighter, man, and this is a huge test for him, and I'm excited to see how he does.
yep, me as well. All right, so we're gonna get into this next one. Out of all the fights, I mean, they're all really good. This one is the hardest I've been thinking and going back and forth and doing mental gymnastics on. This is a welterweight bout. It's between number 9 ranked Sean Brady and number 11 ranked Kelvin Gastelum. Brady minus 118, Gastelum minus 102. For Brady, he's 15-1 in his career. We saw his first loss last time out was against Bilal Muhammad at UFC 280. That's the scariest thing for me though, is it was Bilal Muhammad, it was a loss, and it was a striking loss. I mean,
Yeah.
he got beat up by Bilal Muhammad,
When's
who's
the last time
not
we
a
saw
striker.
when's the last time we've seen Bilal knock someone out?
That's what I'm saying. So that really it did not sit well with me, and I was the biggest Sean Brady fan. He has big wins against Jake Matthews and Michael Chiesa. Those are good wins, but I mean that Bilal one scares me. Go over to Gaslam. He's 18-8 in his career. This is his first fight at welterweight. We're seeing another weight transition with these guys, and now this time it's him coming down from middleweight rather with Figgy going up. It's him coming down to 170.
He's bounced around between welterweight and middleweight for like he's like right in the middle of those 2 divisions with his weight, man. Like he really
Yeah.
is.
He's a
Yeah.
floater. He's a weird
He's a
one.
he's a floater.
And he's coming off a decision win over Chris Curtis, UFC 287. That fight was such a banger. He definitely won that fight, but it was such a good fight. He's 2-5 in his last 7, but his losses are against Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, Robert Whitaker, and Jared Cannonier.
Yeah,
And when you
killers.
talk about good losses, I mean, those guys are like almost quite literally the top 5 of their division. So and the thing with Kelvin Gastelum is I always think since he's been around so long, since he's been active, you'd think he's an old guy. He's like 32 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not old. He's right there in the thick of things. I kind of like him in -102 here against Brady. Like I said, for Brady to go out there and lose a striking match to Bilal Muhammad, if he would have lost to Bilal, I had him losing to Bilal. But I don't like to admit that. I don't think I did admit it. I don't like Bilal. I've
Yeah.
very public about that. But Bilal, that was always a good fight for Bilal, and it should have been from the grappling side of things. But the fact that he got knocked out by Bilal makes me think that Gaslam's gonna be able to do whatever he wants with him on the feet. If Brady's able to take it to the ground, maybe he can get a win that way. But every round starts on the feet, and I think that Gaslam's gonna find a way to get it done.
Yeah, this is one we agree on because I like Gastelum here at -102. This was we were both talking. We both kind of were close to making this our favorite bet, to be honest. I respect for Sean Brady. I think he is good. I was on Bilal. I don't like Bilal either, but I was on him in that fight because he was plus money. The books disrespect him all the time, and I don't like his personality. I don't necessarily love his fighting style, but he's a good fighter, man. And like the books just like continue to disrespect him. So I was on him in that fight. This is interesting because like obviously Gaslam has the striking advantage here, but the wrestling like I don't know, the wrestling's I think going to be closer than some people think. Like Sean Brady's a great grappler, a great wrestler. That's like his bread and butter. But Kelvin Gastelum was a pretty good high school wrestler. I don't think he wrestled in college, but I'm pretty sure he was a like I know for a fact he was a good high school wrestler. I don't know why he didn't wrestle in college, but his Twitter name's on a mission for gold or something, and that's like a shout out to Jordan Burroughs. All I see is gold. That's like why I made it. Like he's a big wrestling fan. Like he's a solid wrestler, even though he doesn't use it much in his fights. He's a very solid defensive wrestler. So I think it might be hard for Brady to get him down here, but at the same time, like Gaslam has power. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I think his power is decreased a little bit. And like I think he's just a lot smarter, knowing like I don't have to go out there and get knockouts. Like his last fight against Chris Curtis, he won that decision. It was back and forth, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. My favorite pick in this is going to be in this fight. It's not going to be Gaslam, but I do recommend a bet on Gaslam here. I think Brady's might be able to get him down in the first, control him a little bit, but I don't think he's gonna be able to wrestle him for 3 rounds. To be honest, I think will have the striking advantage, and that's the thing about Sean Brady, man. Is like, yeah, he got finished by Bilal Muhammad, but it wasn't a knockout. It was literally he just got finished because it was just volume strikes. He looked tired in that fight, not being able to get Bilal down. Bilal's a very good defensive wrestler. And then he just kind of picked him apart, and it was just pretty much pot shots to get him out of there. Just kept hitting him, and the ref had no choice but to stop it. So like he does have a solid chin. So that's the one thing I'll say about that. Like yeah, he got finished by Bilal, pillow hands Muhammad, but it was but it was more the fact of him being tired and just really not defending well. So it's interesting, but I think Gaslam at -102 here. I don't think you can pass up that value. To be honest, yeah, I'm going Gaslam here. It's not going to be my favorite bet, but I do recommend a bet on him here.
Yeah, and I it's gonna be interesting to see how Brady bounces back from his first loss.
Yep.
There's just no way he's gonna be able to stand with Kelvin Gastelum. I'm just like, as we're talking, I'm just like replaying that fight with Gastelum and Izzy in my head, and that's one of the best fights I've ever watched. I mean,
Yeah.
they were just trading shots back and forth. Neither of them wanted to go out. It was disgusting. Like, and putting that man in a striking match against Brady is just dangerous. So if Brady's able to use his wrestling, if he is, but like you said, Gastelum, his defensive wrestling is super underrated. It's just not talked
Yeah.
about very often. So it's going to be, again, this is just what, the fourth consecutive fight that's going to be super fun to watch. If you guys don't plan on watching it, change your plans, cancel all your plans for Saturday. You're now watching UFC. Like, it's just happening. This card's amazing.
Yeah, like, the more I'm thinking about it, I can't believe this isn't a, pay-per-view,
It's
to be honest.
ridiculous. Like this,
Yeah,
like I said, I could probably go out there, find 2 to 3 pay-per-views from this year that I'd rather watch this card for. I'd feel more willing to spend the $70-$80 to pay for these fights than some of the horrible title fights that we've had. Um,
100% agree.
anyways, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna get back and talk about the last 2 fights on this main card, talk a couple of the prelims, and we're going to go into our favorite picks. We're going to actually recap our favorite picks from 2 weeks ago now, which feels like an eternity ago, but we're going to do it. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're just going to get straight into this next fight. We got a lightweight bout. This is against the living legend Clay Guida, and he's fighting Joaquim Silva. Guida's at a plus 260. Silva's at a minus 325. Guida, man, he's 38-20 in his career, coming up on 60 fights. This will be his 36th UFC fight, 41 years old. I don't know how he does it. He's coming off a decision loss to Hoffa Garcia. Silva, 12-4 in his career. He's coming off a round 3 TKO against Arman Sarukian, our main event, 2-4 in his last 6. This fight, I mean, for as good as a card as this is, I feel like, and again, here's what I'll preface this with. Every time I go against Clay Guida, he wins. And every time I pick Clay Guida to win, he loses. So Clay Guida is going to lose. So he's going to win. I hope you stayed with me throughout all that. So here's the thing. Like I said, he's 41. I'm pretty sure his 42nd birthday is coming up soon. Maybe they'll send him to the retirement home. I don't know. The age has to catch up with this man sooner rather than later. We watch Clay Guida, and honestly, he's an exciting fighter. He always has
Yeah,
been, and he still is, even at the old age. But I feel like Joaquim Silva is going to be able to go in there and knock him out, right?
yeah,
Like the over
that's
under set at 2.5. It's plus 100 to go over, minus 130 to go under. Here I am writing somebody's eulogy. I can almost guarantee you Guida's going to win and get a 5-fight contract extension. But I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna say it, Kalita. This is the end of the line. It's maybe this is the loss where Dana goes, I'm gonna be held liable if I keep letting him fight.
dude, before I talk about this fight, how funny was it? I think it was his last fight where Clay Guida lost and acted like he was retiring just so he could get mic time.
Dude, Dana was steaming.
So
He was
pissed,
so
dude.
mad.
Everyone was like, "Oh, like he's finally retiring," like, and then he's just like, "Motherfuckers, I ain't retiring." And then he like kept trying to like talk, and like I forget who it
Yeah.
was. I think it was DC. He was like, "Yeah, no, buddy, like
Get out of here.
Dana's giving me that look, like I'm taking the mic away." Oh man, that shit was so funny. I mean, I love Clay Guida, man. Like you said, he's an exciting fighter. He was in one of the most exciting fights of all time with him and Diego Sanchez. If you haven't seen that fight, just go back and watch the highlights because that fight was just unbelievable. Yeah, I mean Clay Guida he has a great gas tank. He's not the best striker, but he comes forward and he has a little bit of power, man. And like he has a good chin. He's a solid wrestler, and that's just been the story about him his whole career, man. And he has heart. Like he keeps fighting throughout everything that happened. Like he could get wrecked in the first round, man, and he can come back and win that second round. So like he is just like a living legend, like you said. Silva has power though, and like Guida's been knocked out before a couple times, and like he's getting older. The chin's definitely probably on its last legs here. I don't really think Silva's that great though. So like I mean, I just think this is one you watch and root for Clay Guida to get it done. To be honest, like has power. His wrestling's not the best, but like Clay Guida's wrestling, like it's good, but like he kind of he gets takedowns, but he's not as good as at controlling people on the ground as he used to be. So even if he does get some takedowns and bang some rounds, I think he probably is going to lose position and just kind of might be one of those things where it's sooner or later he's going to get knocked out. I forget who he fought. I don't know if it was. I think it was Bobby Green. Like not too long ago. That's kind of what was happening in the first round. he might have won the first round because he was getting takedowns, and then could have been someone else, but it was a solid striker. And yeah, I think he was like the favorite after the first round because he banked the first round with wrestling, but he just like couldn't control him throughout the second, third round, ended up losing. Yeah, I don't have a pick in this fight. You don't take Silva at minus, or what is it, minus 200
I
higher.
think it's what 3-1. Yeah,
Yeah.
325.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just there's no
Yeah.
chance. That's what I was gonna kind of follow up on. Is I Silva is my pick.
Yeah.
Never gonna bet him at a 3-1 favorite.
Well, if Silva's your pick, does that mean we hammer Clay
That
Guida?
means bet Clay Guida. That
I'm
means
just
you're getting
guys.
amazing odds of plus 260, and it means, like I said, he's fighting another 5 fights. And I'm glad that you brought up the kind of deke that he had with the post fight where he was
That
going
was
to
so
retire.
funny, bro.
Like, here's my thought process
Bro, he
now.
literally took off his gloves.
Yeah, and he's holding them in the corner, like, crying, like, "Oh, man, he's done. What a good career." Is this now gonna be a boy who cried wolf situation, and they're just not gonna let him talk on the mic anymore? It's gonna be after the fact, like, he loses, and he goes, "Well, I'm actually retiring this time. I didn't get to say
Yeah.
goodbye.
Should
I
do it
gained
every
4
single time.
years."
He should do it every single fight that he has for the rest of his career, literally every
I
single
guess now we're on
time.
the Clay Guida retirement watch. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's the best thing to watch for in this fight. If Joaquin Silva wins, we'll see him
Yeah.
strap off those gloves. We'll see Felder. I'm not doing this again, buddy.
Well, yeah. I can't remember if it was DC or Felder who was in the octagon with him, but like whoever is going to be in the octagon interviewing him this time, Dana, there's probably very specific instructions from Dana White. Do not let that motherfucker fake you out here. Like if he's retiring, like we have, because that's the thing. Like Dana's gonna let him have a retirement speech, but like
Yeah.
he was so pissed off, like the shit he pulled, because like they're on a very tight schedule. Like the interview, the guy that loses doesn't get interviewed unless it's the main event or like a big main event or a title fight. Like a
Yeah.
long time champion. So yeah, dude, I
I
couldn't
add
get
to
it.
the Clay Guida what am I trying to say? Lore. Clay Guida lore. I was in college whenever we were in college, and I just started betting. One of the first like big bets that I had ever taken, it was like something that was like minus 140, and I needed to get it to like even money or plus money. So I
Yeah.
put Michael Johnson with when he fought Clay Guida because I was like, Clay Guida's a billion years old. And then I had the exact same thing that Rick was talking about happen to me. Whatever I had actually hit, but then of course Clay Guida won and just ruined my entire evening.
That's so
Dude, he's a
funny.
nightmare. He's like a zombie. I can't get away from this guy. So like it's and I'm not exaggerating. It's every single time he fights, I'm on one side and the other hits. So like I said, I don't think Clay Guida is gonna win. I guarantee he won't. Bet him.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, real short story on Clay Guida. My freshman year of high school wrestling at Ironman, which is like one of the toughest tournaments in the country, Clay Guida was there, and he was coaching some like his like alma mater, his high school alma mater. Like he was just coaching some of the kids there, man. And he is legitimately that same psychopath dude, like wherever he goes. Like he was literally in the corner of this kid, like pacing up and down the mat, like the refs telling him to get the fuck off the mat. Like the dude is how he fights in the octagon is how he is in real life, and it's just hilarious to watch. But yeah, I'm rooting for him in this fight. I might actually just bet him for the fun of it, because like
You should.
why the
Can I
fuck
offer
not?
one more idea for Clay Guida? He should make a bargain with Dana White, and Dana can say, "All right, we're not going to give you the mic ever again, but you have to fight Jim Miller 5 times in a row." That's
Oh,
that's what the deal is.
that'd be so funny.
Yeah, that would be 5 draws. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, that
Literally
would.
nobody is winning. It's a split draw every single time. Well, Clay Guida, if anything else, I mean, you've unlocked a lot of core memories here at LineTime Sports. Some betting memories, some wrestling memories. So thanks for that, man. I'm sure that you're going to win this week because I've been talking about it. I hope that you hear this. Clay Guida, we do love you. We're rooting for you. Let's just move on before we
Yeah,
keep talking about Clay Guida for 3 hours because we probably could. I mean, he
yeah,
has enough. Like I said, this is his 36th UFC fight. We could talk about him for 3
insane,
hours.
insane.
All right, we're gonna get into the last fight on the main card. Middleweight bout. This is between Punahele Soriano and Dustin Stoltzfus. Puna, he's coming in at minus 290. Stoltzfus at a plus 215. Soriano is a 9-3 record, 3-3 in the UFC. He's coming off of a round 2 knockout loss against Roman Kopylov. He's 1-3 in his last 4 with losses against Kopylov, Nick Maximov, and Brandon Allen. So it's 3 pretty decent losses. Not great, but they're 3 pretty good fighters. Stoltzfus is 14-5 in his career, 1-4 in the UFC. He's coming off of that 19-second loss against Abus Magomedov in his debut, where he kind of front kicked him to the face and followed up with some ground and pound. I Here's the thing. This is another case of Puna is going to be my pick, but to have him at a 3-1 favorite, I've watched too many fights with this guy where he does have tremendous power. He has big hands, man. I mean, he can knock out anyone any given Sunday. He could just in any fight, he could always pull out the victor because he can knock somebody out. But I've seen so many times where he empties the tank and gets gassed and gets wrestled. Like even in his last fight against Roman Kopylov, he was getting taken down. And Roman Kopylov doesn't necessarily take people down.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Puna at my 3-1 favorite is worth it at all. I think he probably will win. Like I said, he can knock anybody out, but I don't know. And Stoltzfus, I mean, he's not a bad fighter. Like I said, he got knocked out in 19 seconds last time out, but there's value there at plus 215.
Yeah, Tuna's wrestling is just not very good, and I think the main reason he has a 3-1 favorite is because Stolfus isn't really known that much as a wrestler. They're both pretty much knockout artists, but Stolfus does have some submission wins outside the UFC. He has a win over Dwight Grant, who's a decent striker. Honestly, man, don't have much in this one. Soriano's got good power, but and then, I mean, I would just say both of them have pretty solid power, but I just don't. I don't think
I think
either.
this is a stay away.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it will be a very exciting fight, though. With me saying like I don't think either fighter is necessarily the best here, but yeah, I think this is a stay away. I wouldn't even really want to take Stolfus for the value. Like if you do, I don't hate it because I don't think Puna showed me anything to be a minus 300 against anyone in the UFC. But I just think the reason he is 3-1 is the stylistic matchup here, and think he has more power, and I think he probably does knock him out. But I could see Stolfus turning this into a little dirty boxing, get him up, clinch up, and get him tired. That's another thing about Puna. His gas tank has been suspect multiple
Bad.
times in the UFC. So
Yeah, it's not good.
yeah,
And
not
the
much
over
here for
under
me.
it's set at 1.5 rounds, and it's favored to go over minus 150, under plus 120. That's kind of interesting. I kind of don't hate the under. Again, I'm not gonna bet it, but if I had to pick a side, I like to go for the plus money,
Yeah,
especially when I think that there's actually value, not just we're throwing a dart at it. Like I
yeah,
said, both of these guys are good knockout artists, so it's very possible that this goes under the 1.5 rounds. But again, I can't advise doing much of anything in this fight. If you're a big fan of taking the dogs, parlay Stoltzfus and Clay Guida, 'cause I'm gonna bring him back. I'm gonna do it. He's back. But
yeah.
again, I don't advise taking much of anything in this fight. This is kind of out of the main card. This is the one where I'm probably least excited. But you're right; it'll probably be fun. I
Fun
think that
fight.
it's gonna end in a finish, so we'll see. We're just gonna go straight into the prelims, though, and this featured prelim. This is a good fight, at least a bigger name in this fight. It's a women's bantamweight bout between the number 12 ranked Misha Tate and number 13 ranked Julia Avila. Tate's coming in at a plus 130, Avila at a minus 155. Tate is 19-9 in her career, 6-6 in the UFC. She's 1-4 in her last 5, and she's coming off that decision loss against Lauren Murphy, where she went down to 125. Julia Avila is 9-2 in her career, 3-1 in the UFC, and she's coming off of a round 3 rear naked choke win over Julia Stolarenko. I, Misha Tate is the big name in this fight. She's a bigger name. I mean, she's a former champion. Back in her prime, she was one of the best women's fighters in the world. I mean, she knocked off Ronda Rousey. It's just, I, I, I don't know. I,
I I was just gonna say, I think it's crazy that Misha Tate's still ranked being 1-4 in
yeah.
her last 5 fights. But I mean,
I don't think
to be
that's too Misha Tate doing well. I think that's like kind
yeah,
of the state of the
yeah,
division.
and then like yeah, there's obviously not as many women's fighters. There's only what 3 weight classes in women's MMA. So, yeah, and like Misha's definitely looked washed like in her recent fights. But the thing about Aviva, it's like, yeah, she's 3-1 and she's only a -155. Like, I think that's attributed to just like her opponent she's fought. Like, I don't think she's fought anyone all that great. And I kind of like Gina Mazzani's one of her wins. That's just off the top of my head. I'm kind of trying to look at it more, but like Gina Mazzani is not good, and she's not in the UFC anymore. I don't think. And so like I just think most of her wins have came against lower level fighters. So I think that makes the line make a little bit more sense. Her only being a -155, and then obviously Misha Tate just has that big name. Uh, that's about all I'm gonna say about this fight, man. Like, I'm gonna root for Misha Tate. Like, she's a legend in women's MMA for sure. Um, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't think there's any edge in this fight either.
Nah, if she was maybe like a +230, I'd be more
Yeah,
incentivized to bet her, but I can't take her to +130. The over under is set at 2.5, and it's -270 to go over, +200 to go under. It's gonna go over. It's gonna go to decision. I've said it a million times. This is just one of those fights that I could almost guarantee goes the
what
distance.
what is it to go the distance? Sorry.
To go over 2.5, it's -270. So I'm guessing
Oh
distance is
yeah,
something like
parlay. That
-220.
that's a lock of the century parlay piece right there.
100%. Throw that in your parlays. I could almost guarantee that one's gonna hit. It's
And
just
and when I'm saying lock of the century parlay piece, I'm kidding to an extent. Like, nothing's a lock of the century parlay piece, but I do think that like if you do want to do a parlay of some big favorites or whatever, I think that's a decent one to do there.
yeah, that's definitely something that you should throw in. It just, Misha's last fight, she looked so slow, and
Yeah,
she had what, a 5-year layoff before coming back. She went and did break Big Brother. I don't think that she's really like her heart's in it anymore. I don't think that she necessarily thinks she's ever gonna fight for a belt again because if she does, she's wrong. Uh, I don't know. I'm not trying to trash on Misha Tate here. I just think that the best part of her career is behind her.
for sure.
And like you said, it's not like Avila's like, I mean, she's 9-2, she's 3-1 in the UFC, but I mean, again, and the weird thing is, Misha Tate, she's 37, Avila's like 35. So it's not like it's like a case of the younger fighter here. It's just like I think that Avila's a little bit more invested at this point in time. I think that she might have a little bit more skill at this point in time. Not, I mean, obviously, like we said, Misha Tate, she's a legend. She was one of the best women's fighters of all time in her prime, but I just do not
Yeah,
like her here at all.
yeah,
Going into our next fight,
agreed.
middleweight bout, we got Zachary Reese making his debut at a -218 versus Cody Brundage at a +180. Like I said, Reese undefeated 6-0, making his UFC debut. He's coming off of a Contender Series win this year, round one armbar against Eli Aronov. Brundage 9-5 in in his career, 3-4 in his UFC career. He's coming off of a air quotes for you guys aren't watching a win against Jacob Malkoon. It was illegal elbows at the back of the head. He kinda did his best to, convince the refs that he couldn't keep fighting and that he should get the DQ win. Yeah, I think Zachary Reese is gonna win this fight. I don't have I mean, and here's the thing, I don't have the most tape and information on Zachary Reese. He's a big guy. I think he's like 6'4", which is pretty big for the weight. Uh, he looked really good in his Contender Series fight. He's 6-0. It seems like one of those fights that is being made to kind of push Zachary Reese and kind of give him an easier win. Brundage, here's the thing. He's not a terrible fighter. He's not bad. He's an idiot.
Yeah, he's
I there's
terrible fight IQ for
I was
sure.
trying to be nice in a way, but he
Yeah,
might be one of the worst fight IQs I have personally ever seen. If anything's
yeah,
going his way, he immediately does all he can in his power to give momentum right back to the other fighter. And it's just
yeah,
like so often that we see that.
yeah. Yeah, Brundage, I don't think he's all that great. I think the only time I bet against him, he won, which is like crazy because he's what 3-4 in the UFC. Well,
Yeah.
he beat Trey Sean Gore, and that was a
Mm.
while ago. Like, that was before he rattled off those 3 losses to our boy Cendric Dumas, 21 Savage, and then he lost to Rodolfo Vieira, and then Michael. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. Alexiak. I don't know. Alexiak,
That was
maybe.
pretty good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say that was actually pretty good, man. I'm
Yeah, I
impressed.
mean, maybe, I don't know, it's fucking just a lot of, vowels in that name, but, But yeah, this guy he's fighting though. Like I haven't watched him. I don't even think I saw his Contender Series fight, which is weird because I usually tune into like most of those, or if I did, I can't really remember it. But he's won every fight by finish, which is pretty impressive. You would kind of think he'd be like a bigger favorite, I'd say, against someone like Brundage. But I mean, he's making his UFC debut. Obviously, this is his biggest step up in opponent, like first UFC caliber opponent. So I guess it makes sense. But yeah, I'm not gonna touch this fight because if I do, Brundage will probably win. I just remember like the Tresean Gore fight, like pretty sure he just like leg kicked him and Tresean Gore's like knee gave out. But yeah, no interest in this one, man. Like, I think could be a fun fight, but like, no interest betting it is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the over/under is set at around 1.5, and it is very favored to go under at -195. So, I
Wow,
mean, I think we know what the story is setting up for.
dude, I might just bet over just for the fun. Nah, I'm kidding. If I do that, it
Just for a
100% will
little
go
skin in
under.
the game.
Nah, I don't want skin in this game.
Little do we know, Brundage by decision, lock of the century.
Oh, dude, watch, it's gonna hit now. What is that? Probably plus 1,000.
I'd hope so. I mean, it's just donating
Yeah,
money at this
even
point.
look at those odds.
They're carving your name into a wing, the hammer wing.
Yeah,
Alright.
but yeah, should be a
It's
fun
just
one.
should it? I don't know.
That's
I
when
guess
you
we'll
gotta.
see.
If you do that, that's when you got to call the hotline.
Yeah.
That's
I got 1-800
Yeah.
dialed up for you if we're taking him by decision here. I
Yeah, if you
can't.
have a Cody Brundage decision ticket, you might need to call the number. Is all I'm gonna say. But
Yeah, I'd be looking at myself in the mirror and seeing the back of my head on that one. I can't do that.
watch. I mean, we just
Yeah,
talked.
I know everything we say, man. Write them up.
We just
Guido.
talked, the amount of shit we just talked on that, it like has a chance at hitting now, just because of that. But like, nah. But seriously, like, I don't know. I don't think you can bet this fight.
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. It's just
Yeah.
yeah. We'll watch this one. Let's just get into the next fight before we really solidify Cody Brundage winning.
Yeah.
Lightweight, we got Drakkar Klose versus Joe Solecki. Klose coming in at -122, Solecki to +102. Klose is a 13-2-1 record and a 7-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a decision win over Rafa Garcia, UFC 277. And like we said earlier, he had that crazy fight with Beneil Dariush where Klose had him like inches away from going out.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
Beneil just like for whatever, like reached back and like Super Saiyan a punch right to his jaw.
I was just gonna say he went Super Saiyan when he
Yeah,
got
dude.
rocked.
I
Like,
mean,
he
that's
was
the only
so
way.
hurt. Yeah, he was so hurt. But
If you've never seen that, look it up. That was one of the
yeah.
craziest sequences I've ever seen. It was, I mean, I was so hyped and I had no skin in the game. I was jumping up and down. It was just like one of those, like, there's no way this is gonna happen, and it happens in front of your eyes. It was super crazy, but like that goes a long way for Drakkar Klose. I think Drakkar Klose, he has all the skill in the world. Selecki, he's 13-3 and 5-1 in his UFC career. He's another Contender Series grad, and he's coming off of a round two rear naked choke win over Carl Deaton. I like Klose here at a -122. I think that's pretty decent value.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, straight bet him, sure, throw him in a parlay. Joe Solecki's good. I just think Klose is a little bit better. This could be a fight where the loser goes out of the organization for a little bit and tries to find themselves, does a little bit of soul searching, maybe in ways to find themselves back. I I I don't think the Klose is gonna lose this fight though. Like I said, I think he's actually like legit pretty decent. Like
Yeah, I
his
agree.
record goes to show 13-2-1 is a pretty decent record, but he's just kind of been not active, I think is a
Yeah,
way to
I was
say it.
just gonna say like he doesn't fight very often, and it's just like another fighter that just doesn't have the best fight IQ, but he's like a lot more skilled than a guy like Cody Brundage. Like you said, like he is good, man, and he almost knocked out Beneil Dariush. Like he has power. He's pretty solid on the feet. I just think his fight IQ is sometimes not the best. Like he could have taken his time there in the Beneil fight and definitely put him out, but he just got careless, like thinking like he's like out on his feet and then gets knocked out cold. So yeah, it's a striker versus grappler matchup. Like that's just what Joe Solecki does. That's his bread and butter. And that's the thing. Like Joe Solecki's pretty like he's actually very good. He's like a very good submission artist, but his wrestling's not that great. So like I don't know if he's gonna be able to get close down. I think yeah, I think at minus 122, you have to bet Drakkar Klose here, Klose, however you say his fucking name. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I love watching these fights, to be honest. Like, I love a good striker versus grappler matchup. So yeah, I'll be excited for this one. I'll probably bet Drakkar, but I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Clause.
Close class. I don't know how to say his name, bro. It's always I don't know. Sorry.
I honestly I don't either.
Rick only said it 500 times leading.
Yeah. Is it what is it? Close, Clause? I don't know. I think he's German or some shit. So I don't know.
Clause.
Clause. Okay. Well,
If it isn't, I'm sorry, Drakkar.
yeah. I was gonna say sorry.
That's the easiest route.
Botched your name 3 times there, but it is what it is, man. I'm rooting for you. I'm probably gonna bet you, so hopefully you win.
I feel like we got it once in there.
All right, let's move on to the last.
Yeah,
fight,
let's just go to the last fight. We're gonna talk. We're in shambles here. This is what happens when we take a week off. Welterweight Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. Wellington Turman's a minus 192. Jared Gooden's a plus 160. The Terminator, man. 18-7 in his career, 3-5 in the UFC. He's coming off a decision loss against Randy Brown. Gooden 22-9 in his career, 1-4 in the UFC. This is his second stint in the UFC. He's coming off a decision loss to Carlson Harrison, his first fight back. Probably going to be a short stint. I'm going to be brutally honest. Wellington Turman, I saw today, is going to be cornered by Alex Pereira, so that's pretty cool. This fight's not great.
Brazilians, yeah. No,
I don't know why Wellington Turman's 2-1.
Yeah, another one where loser is probably gonna most likely be cut. It's just the honest truth about it.
That's just the
Maybe
business, yeah.
maybe Gooden won't be because it's his second fight and maybe he got a 3-fight contract, so maybe he gets one more. But
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know how that's gonna work. But I think straight up, like I'd probably just go with Jared Gooden here because of the value, even though I don't think he's necessarily going to win. But I think at Wellington Turman shouldn't be close to 2-1 favorite over anyone in the UFC. So yeah, and Gooden has like a lot of power, and like Turman's a decent wrestler, and he has decent submissions, and that's about it. Like on the feet, he's just he on the feet. Like he doesn't really do much. He's not that active. I mean, Gooden's gonna try to take the fight to him on the feet, and I think there's a decent chance he could knock him out. But he also could get wrestled pretty easily too. Like I don't really think there's much to say about this fight other than if you want a little skin in the game, I'd go Jared Gooden because he's got some knockout power.
Yeah, and another thing I don't hate, the over/under set at 2.5. The over is minus 166, under plus 130. I think you
Wow.
just take the over. I mean,
Wow.
they think it's gonna go over.
Honestly,
You like the under, don't you?
well, just like value wise, like I don't know. I think both fighters have a chance to finish. Like I think Turman could submit him, and I think Gooden can knock him out. But I do think it's a little weird that it's minus 160 to go over.
That's kind of my read. The fact that Wellington's a minus 192 money line and the overs or over 2.5 minus 166, it makes me think a whole lot like it's going to be
Wellington by
Turman
decision.
Yeah,
that's
the read I'm getting here.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's just the read that I'm getting from these lines. I probably not going to touch anything in this fight. The thing is, like, the longer this card goes, the worse these fights get, which is part of the course. I mean, that's every.
I mean, the main card's insane. You thought like there has to be some drop off, but like even the prelims, man, like a lot of these fighters that are fighting for the jobs here, like they're still exciting fighters. They've been in the UFC. They've had multiple fights in the UFC. I mean, Jared Gooden's on his second stint, so they obviously like him enough to bring him back for a second contract. So yeah, like I know we are having a little bit of fun with some of these, but like I mean they legitimately, a lot of these will be good fights, like especially when people are fighting for the jobs, man, like they're gonna go out and put it on the line. So
yeah, there's a lot on the line for sure. We're gonna take one more quick little break and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about our favorite picks. Then we're gonna recap, like I said, our picks from a couple of weeks ago. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back in action. We're here to get to the favorite picks. I'm gonna go straight into mine. It's Davison Figueiredo money line, and it's plus 114. I really like Davison Figueiredo. I mean, the guy's a warrior. We've seen him so many times in his title fights and the 4 fights with Brandon Moreno. He's always in every single fight. Like I said, the last one he lost, it was a doctor stoppage because his eye was broken. I mean, it's gonna be and like we were saying, it's gonna be really interesting to see if Davison Figueiredo if we're gonna see if his power translates and his strength
Yep.
because he was always strong and super powerful down there at 125. And at 135, that's kind of just the norm, especially against Rob Font, who, as Hammer said, he might have the best jab in the entire UFC. So it's going to be interesting. I like it for the value. And I know when it opened up that he was a lot bigger of an underdog. I think maybe plus 140 he was close to,
Yeah.
maybe even higher, plus 150 somewhere. But the fact that he's going down to a plus 114 makes me like it all the more.
Yeah, big money bettors might be on him moving that line for sure. Um, yeah,
I
like
do
you
have
said.
him here on DraftKings, by the way, at plus 130. So for the
Oh,
graphic, I'm going to give you a little higher odds, but
Yeah, give me
okay.
those plus 130. I was looking at what was it? I was looking at
FanDuel.
FanDuel and it was plus 114 today. So like that's what I'm saying is there's already money coming in on Davison. So that's kind of and I gotta go with my gut here. I was texting the fellas earlier, you two. I was texting Hammer and Adam and Oscar. I kind of wanted to go with
Gaslam, right?
Gastelum
Yep.
money line at a minus 102. That was what I kind of wanted to do with my favorite pick, but I had originally said Figueredo, and I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with my gut. I like Figueredo. I like Gastelum too. Like I do advise to bet Gastelum, especially like I said, because Brady was getting out stand up by Bilal Muhammad, which is.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm gonna go with Figueredo plus 130. Yeah, and like I think that this goes back to another point that we always try to say: always shop your lines.
Yep. I was just gonna say that.
Because like I'm calling out a plus 114, you can get a plus 130 at the next book. So always look
Yeah.
for the best odds.
I was gonna say we're always gonna like whatever we give out, like is what we're gonna like put on our graphic and how many like up or down units we go with it. But yeah, we'll always try to advise like what the best odds are. And I'll just say like FanDuel's lines are way sharper than DraftKings and other books. Like FanDuel is a lot smarter with their lines. They give you less value, so it's always smart to line shop. But yeah, I mean, and then you're getting them at plus 130 too rather than Gaston. I don't know what he is on DraftKings. I'm guessing he's like plus 105 if he's like minus 102 on FanDuel or something like that. But yeah, you're getting good value there for sure. And yeah, I'm gonna be rooting for him for sure. This is a huge test for him, but I think he could get it done. And like I said, I like Rob Font, but not enough to bet him at minus 142 or whatever it is. So yeah, I think it's a great value play. But oh yeah, I think yeah, my favorite pick is going to be um, Sean Brady and Gaslam to go the distance at plus 100 on DraftKings. I pretty much said all my points about it in the when we were just going over this fight, but yeah, just to reiterate a little bit. I think Brady could have success early, man, and I think he could even that first round. I think he could just win that first round by kind of laying on Gaslam maybe. Um, and then I don't like you were saying, like he got knocked out by Bilal Muhammad, who doesn't have a lot of power, but it was more of a volume knockout than him having a weak chin, man. Like he was tired from not being able to get the fight to the ground. I think he's going to conserve his energy a lot more here. And just like I said, Gaslam's been a lot smarter recently. I think he also will try to conserve his energy too. Like I think both fighters realize like their path to victory isn't to get in a brawl here. Like I think Gaslam knows he's better on the feet. I think he knows he can win the exchanges as long as he doesn't overextend and get too stupid with like what he's throwing here. So I think he's going to be surgical, kind of pick him apart on the feet. I think Bright Brady can have success on the ground. But like I'm not gonna just go into this one saying like, oh, like I'm hoping for Brady to lay on him, and that's the only way this wins. Like I think this could win, even if it stays on the feet for 3 rounds. Even though I think Gastelum does have a big advantage on the feet, I expect Gastelum to throw leg kicks, maybe some body kicks to try to get Brady tired. But yeah, I think it could be back and forth, man. Brady, he's a really good fighter, man. His first loss was below Muhammad, and even though like we don't like the guy, he's a great fighter. So that's pretty much all I have on it. I just I think plus 100 is great value for this one. Both guys have a good amount of finishes in the UFC, but like I said, like when you have these matchups where it's like the skill level of each fighter is higher than like what they're used to in their finishes, I think it you get good value on the fight to go the distance here. So yeah, I'm gonna go plus 100 fight to go the distance.
Yeah, I
No,
like this
no,
Should
pick
have
a lot.
nobody get
I
hurt.
should have said I should have said this beforehand, but the record for anyone who's been following the pod and is curious, the record is 8-7, but boys are up 2.89 units because you have only taken out of 18 picks, 5 minus odds plays,
Yeah,
13 plus money plays that have
and
come
I
from
don't
the
think
favorite
I don't think
picks.
any of one's been higher than like minus 125. And like I said, you don't always have to
Mhm.
bet value, but like if you're out here trying to bet like minus 180s, 200s, like your percentage, you have to be hitting higher than,
An
I don't know.
absurd rate.
Yeah, like
Yeah, just a crazy rate.
65, 70% to be actually making money. So I mean, yeah, the record doesn't look that good, but like you're playing the long game here, and like you said, 8-7, not necessarily the best record, but we're slowly building the bankroll, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to be a long-term winning better, which is really hard to do, yeah, you got to dole out those plus money picks. So, yeah, let's
I
keep
think
it
you should
rolling.
stick with the plus money picks. I'm actually just looking at this now. You guys are 2-2 on plays that have worse than even money odds
Yeah, dude.
and over 500 on
Yeah,
all
dude.
other plays.
The
So
Bad feeling. But
I was
hey,
gonna.
hey, we're
Well,
riding.
and it's like funny because like I
it's
think like
true.
the one time I full faded when I did like because I think I've only done it once when I did a money line parlay of two bigger favorites I thought were gonna win, and obviously they both fucking lost. I think they both got finished too, but it's just like I think it might have ended up being plus money, but like that's the thing, man. Like if you bet those straight, like you're in piss. Like you're minus 200s and you lose both of those, like you're in piss. So yeah, I mean if you want to parlay some like bigger favorites, like I don't hate it, but like I try to keep those at like two
It's
picks.
not sustainable long
No,
term.
it's
It's
not
just you'll see that sooner rather than later, and I
for
can
sure.
attest to it. It's not fun.
For,
It'll,
for sure.
it'll take away years.
For
Uh,
sure.
so here's another, just real quick. I'm kind of thinking out loud. I don't think that DraftKings or FanDuel offers it, and if they do, I'm not sure where. I would like to see me being able to fight on fight of the night because I think that Brady and Gaslam's going to be fight of the night, and I wish I could bet that.
Dude, yeah, I wish they did. Yeah, there's no book that would offer that, like, or that
Just
does
because the
offer that.
odds would be super weird.
But
It would
they
be a
should, dude. Like
yeah.
that would be something really fun to bet on, like each car, like which fight's gonna be fight of the night, who's gonna
Should
get
we start doing that? Should we start
knockout.
making odds for them?
Dude, we could because
I
like
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
opposed.
we can't accept the bets, but
no,
you
Yeah.
know, just
just like
PSA,
some
we're not gonna be your bookies. We're not gonna do that.
yeah.
some hypothetical odds just to spice it up a little bit. Yeah, no, I think that would be fun to
Venmo
do.
at LineTime Hammer with all plays, and then
Nah, no, I think you
We
meant
swear.
I think you meant admin Oscar. But yeah, let's recap the our picks from last week and Rick, you can talk about them a little bit since I didn't watch the fights. I was actually in California watching my buddy fight in his second professional fight. So I missed every single fight. I was happy to see my bet won, but I didn't know it
Yeah.
won until you
Yeah,
told me.
so
So
Hammer's best bet.
barely.
It cashed. It was Brendan Allen and Paul Craig start round 3. It started round 3 and it ended 45 seconds in round 3. But hey, a
Well,
win's
love
a
to see
win.
it. Yeah, love to see it, man. That's
That's
why.
almost even better. I
Yeah.
wish you were there for it because I in my head I was imagining what the reaction would have been. It would have, don't get hurt, don't tap, don't do this, no, 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 no. And then it gets to
Well,
round
so
3,
like
kill them,
I
kill
I
each
want
other.
to I want to because that's so funny because that's how I am when I bet fucking fights to go the distance, dude. I'm like, everyone be safe. No,
Yep.
don't throw punches. Like I like hate doing it in a way because like I love MMA and I love to watch exciting fights, but
You
obviously
love violence. Everybody does.
not when I have money on the fight to go the distance. But like I was just gonna ask, like, was it close to being finished before there? Like, was it kind of
Not
just like
really.
Okay.
It was a feeling out, like we said, it was a feeling out process. I think it was both of the guys' first main events, so like, you could tell that they were both playing it a little bit cautious.
Did Allen subbed him, right?
Allen subbed him
Okay.
45, and
That's an impressive win though, like by
it was an
subbing
impressive
against
win.
for
Allen looks good.
yeah. Was he
He's reaching it.
I'm guessing he was getting the better of him on the feet, or did Paul Craig look like he made some improvements there on
Yeah, there wasn't a whole ton on the feet. I mean, it was, it was like I said, it was a lot of feeling out. It was a lot of throw your jab out there, kind of see where we're at. It wasn't the most exciting fight until the finish, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of obvious that Brandon Allen was in the driver's seat.
How
I
did
like Paul Craig a lot
what
though.
did he sub him with?
RNC,
RNC, that's what I thought.
I'm pretty positive it's an RNC. I could be wrong for whatever reason. 2 weeks ago feels like
Yeah,
2 years
forever. I'm
ago.
I'm pretty sure it was RNC. I think I looked at just like the result of it, and I'm pretty sure I did see
All
it
I know is I was
was
very happy that it got past or got into the third round, and then
RNC.
like immediately it was like Brendan Allen was a different kind of fighter, and he was just
Yeah.
a yeah, it was weird. It's like he knew that you had money on. It's like he listened to the podcast.
Yeah, bro. He was just he just I mean, he did what he needed to do to cash the bet and still get a finish. So you love to see
You do love to see it, but what you don't love to see
it.
is Chad and Hell. Come on, man. He lost. He lost a decision, and I'm not gonna lie, he didn't look very competitive throughout. Kinda looked like he didn't wanna be there. Again, maybe he watched the podcast. I don't know. It was a bad pick by me. I gotta be better.
Hey,
Plus
man.
160. It didn't hit. It was never gonna hit. As soon as the fucking fight started, it was over. I don't know. It was a bad one. A couple
Hey,
more
man.
fights in that card. Michael Morales, he beat Jake Matthews. Yeah, he won a decision. I don't know. Amanda
Wasn't
Ribas.
wasn't the I like what I've heard about it wasn't the most exciting card.
It wasn't. It was pretty
Sure.
boring. But I will say, like, the Amanda Ribas knockout on Luana Pinheiro was sick.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
nasty. It was a spinning back kick. It was
Oh, sweet.
it looked like what's his name against Sadiq Youssef a couple weeks ago, Edson Barboza,
Okay.
the one that he landed. It was sick. It was sick. Yeah, so that was whatever. And I know we talked about Bellator a couple weeks ago, so I'm just gonna
Dude,
quickly run through that
I
card.
did
That was
watch
sick.
yeah, I can talk a little bit about that too, because those fights were sweet.
Patchy Mix, he's that
He's
guy.
so good, dude. He's
He's
insane.
right up there with some of the best in that division in the entire world.
Yeah.
I will say it.
He's gonna I mean, I think he will, like, I don't know if, like, it's official that PFL bought him out. Is
Mhm.
it? Okay, so it is official.
They
'Cause
just made it official after that card. It's gonna be the
Okay.
last Bellator card.
Because I knew there was rumors, like, a couple weeks leading up to it that it was essentially a done deal, but, I mean, I get if Patchy Mix wants to be loyal to the company and, like, just go over to PFL, but, man, I would love to see him in the UFC, man. I really think he could beat a lot of the top fighters. There's just so many fun fights for him in the UFC, dude, and he is so dominant on the ground, and his stand-up's just getting better and better each fight.
Yep.
Like Pettis is really fucking good, dude, and like I was like tempted to bet him just because of the value, but I thought better of it just because like that's the thing with Pettis. Like when he has gotten beat, it's by getting taken down and just kind of getting controlled. And like, dude, Patchy just once he got him down, it was so quick. And like Pettis like was looking decent. Like he had him Patchy with some nice shots on the feet, but yeah, dude, Patchy's he's big. He's bigger than Pettis, man. Like he's not like the biggest 135, or especially if you're like talking about UFC guys, but dude, he's so fucking dominant, and I think he's on what like an 8 fight win streak. Like he's has one loss in his career. He's like 20 something and one. Um, yeah, I'd love to see him in the UFC sooner rather than later, man. I really think he could make a splash in that division, and like I mean, I know like he wouldn't get like a title shot right away, and like stylistically, there's some fights that could definitely give him trouble, man. But like, I would love to see him and Sean O'Malley, like, and that's so far away, and I don't know if Sean will be the champ um when Patchy comes in. Probably not with how like that division is, with how many good fighters there are in that division. But yeah, like seeing him and Marab would fight would just be such an exciting fight with like seeing that grappler versus grappler matchup. But I think he just matches up with a lot of good strikers in the UFC. I think he can win it just because like his grappling is on another level.
Yeah, and he won by the coveted rear naked choke. He
Yep,
always wins by rear naked choke. But I feel like him to the UFC is inevitable. I mean, he's
it
dating
has to
Shotgun
happen.
Suarez, who's
Yeah,
in the UFC. And like I said, you could very much make the argument that he's the best 135er in the world. I
yeah,
mean,
I agree.
I wouldn't argue against it very much. I like Sean. I like Aljo. I like Marab. But
Corey Sandhagen, like all these are
yeah,
great fighters, but I think he matches up well with a lot of these guys. So
and is
yeah,
a big 135 or two. So it's just like I would really love to see him come over to the UFC. Those are I mean, if and I think that this is I think he's the competitive kind of guy that would want to test himself and see how he
for
fares against
sure.
the best competition in the world. So I think if Dana and him sit down, talk about a contract, I think that's going to happen inevitably. Maybe my favorite fight on the entire card, which I didn't think it was going to be going into it, was Jason Jackson versus Yaroslav Amosov.
Dude,
That was
what
a
a
big upset.
dude, dominant,
Dominant, right?
dominant, dude. Like taking out an undefeated guy that's what 26-0,
In
dude, and
that
just
manner too, I mean, it was like
making it look
the
easy. He
whole
made it
fight.
look easy, bro. Like
Yeah,
he just, and that's the thing, dude. I'm pretty sure I said it. I was just like, the value on Jason Jackson's insane. Like I understand he's going up against a wrestler that has looked so dominant and stuff, but dude, he is such a good striker, dude. He's calculated. He hits hard. And that's the thing, dude. He started out wrestling like he's like wrestling was like his first like thing. Like I know he's Jamaican, and I don't know like what accolades he has in wrestling or whatever. But I mean, he's at Sanford MMA with one of the best wrestlers of all time, and Greg Jones, who was a multi-time. And he might have, I think he was like a three-time national champion for West Virginia. So like, dude, he just he trains with great wrestlers. He has probably the best wrestling MMA coach in the world. So there was just a lot of things in that fight I didn't like. I was so close to betting him, and then it locked right as I was gonna bet him. And I wasn't gonna put a lot on him. I was probably gonna put like $30 to win like 100. It's not like 110 or something, but I just thought the value was insane. And it sucks because like Bellator, and when you at least on FanDuel, it, like you can't bet it live. And I was like still gonna bet him live even like after that first round, because like he still probably was gonna be like even though he won the first round pretty decisively, he was still probably gonna be at least a plus 200, and I would have put 100 on him, just like seeing how good he looked and how dominant. He's another guy I'd love to see in the UFC sooner rather than
for
later.
sure, for sure. A couple more of those fights. Rafion Stotts, beats Danny Sabatello again. I think
Yeah,
the commentator said it. I would watch them fight a million times. They're great fights. They're so
yeah.
competitive.
They hate each other.
They hate each other.
Hate
They
each other, bro.
absolutely. And I know that a lot of the MMA beef is fabricated and they do it for selling the fight. Not these guys. They don't
Yeah,
like each other.
not
They
at all.
genuinely do not like each other. So I love that fight. Again, if they just want to keep running that one back, sure, why not? I'll watch it every single time.
Well, dude, I'm pretty sure when we talked about that fight, Rafion Stotts was like a minus 130 favorite.
Mhm.
He closed at as the underdog, and he was another one,
Nuts.
man, that I was so close to betting. But at the same time, I'm a huge Stotts fan, and I hate Danny Sabatello. So I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't want to lose money and watch Danny Sabatello win. So I just stayed off. But yeah, the value on Stotts, bro, getting him as an underdog in that fight, like pretty crazy to me, especially because, like, yeah, the first fight was a split decision. It was a 5-round fight. This one was a 3-round fight. I think the books took that into account because they kind of thought that Sabatalo could bank some rounds early with his wrestling. But and dude, he's a great wrestler. Like he was, I think, he didn't All American, but I think he was a 2 or 3 time national qualifier for Purdue. Like he's a really good wrestler. But so is Stotts, man. And like the thing about Stotts is he's just a great scrambler. Like once he gets taken down, he's able to scramble out of positions, get back to his feet, and he's just a lot better than Sabatillo is on the feet, and he showed it. Like, but like you said, I'd watch that fight again because of the bad blood, and they're just always exciting fights.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good I love the banter between those 2, like, and like
Hmm.
we were saying, they just don't like each
Well,
other.
yeah, just like after the fight, like the first fight, Danny just storms out of the cage and just like saying "fuck you" and pretty much same thing. Like he stayed in the cage this time, but they were still saying "fuck you" afterwards and shit. Like
Yeah.
no respect between those two, which I like respect in MMA, especially after you go like have a war with a guy. But it's also kind of fun seeing like two guys genuinely hate each other and the
It
bad
makes
blood.
it more interesting for
It
us.
does for sure.
It will always. And then we saw Alexander Shalaby. He beat Pitbull Freire. I mean, that wasn't even that close of a fight. It was kind of a
Yeah, he
bummer
was like a minus
thing.
600, but like yeah, I mean he's definitely the worst Pitbull brother by a good margin. But yeah, that Salaby guy's a freaking beast. I haven't watched him that much, but dude, he just looked so dominant. And that's not to say Patricky isn't good because he is still good, but like fucking the other Pitbull brother, like he is literally one of the goats of Bellator. He was so dominant for so long before. I mean, he lost to Sergio Pettis his last time out, but like before that, he strung together a lot of victories. So yeah, and
Yeah.
like he lost to AJ McKee, but then he comes back and revenges that loss. But yeah, and that brings up the last one we're gonna talk about, dude. AJ McKee, bro, it's crazy. I've never seen someone get taken down and controlled for 3 rounds and just beat the shit out of someone so badly off of his back.
I think it wasn't a unanimous 30-27, but I think he got through two 30-27s.
Dude,
And I mean,
yeah. I was gonna say it actually might have been, but I think you're right. I
I
think
think
it
it was a
was.
unanimous for AJ McKee, but I think
It
somebody
was
gave him a 29-28.
for sure. But dude, it was dawn. Like it's crazy because like
Yeah.
Sydney Outlaw just was not. You could just tell like he was laying and praying that he could stay on top of him, and
Yeah.
McKee like really wasn't trying to fight up to his feet, but he didn't have to, dude. He cut him open with that elbow, and he just kept fucking beating his ass from the bottom, which like you don't see very often. Which I was kind of surprised, like because like McKee was a really good wrestler too. I don't think he ended up wrestling in college, but like that was his first sport. Like he was a very solid high school wrestler. But like, yeah, he was getting taken down, but like he was fine with it because he knew Sydney couldn't pass his guard and wasn't really trying to, and he was just beating him up from the bottom, which was you don't see very often. But yeah, it was a great one for AJ McKee. Get
Yeah,
back.
so if that does go to be the last Bellator card, I don't want to say 100% that it is, but I'm pretty positive it is. It was definitely a good one.
Yeah, good one to end on.
So I think that's going to do it for the two of us this week. We'll be back next week to recap our favorite picks, and I think next week we got Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez, and then after that we got Leon versus Colby, which is probably my most anticipated fight of this
Oh,
year.
dude,
So
it's gonna be a banger.
yeah, we got a nice little schedule coming up. Like I said, we'll recap our picks. We'll see how we did. We'll talk about this card. And the hype is real on this card, at least for us over here at LineTime Sports. It was a fun episode. Thank you again for listening, and I hope that you guys tune in next week to hear the recap.
See you next week, brother.
See you, Hammer.